Hello everybody, just a slight disclaimer as always before watching this video. This video is based off the first 5 episodes of the Murder series, concept art, and a handful of tweets, so the majority of this is just pure speculation, so take this video with a grain of salt. And if you want to support my channel, remember to like and subscribe. Thank you. Episode 2 was certainly a hype train, especially for patient fans who've waited a year since the pilot was released. And episode 2 was not afraid to pick up where the pilot left off, nor was it afraid to expand upon its already existing lore. One character among others was introduced to us, the secret fourth member of N Squad, a figure from his forgotten past, another bearer of the Absolute Solver infection, who we would come to know as Sin. Now, to understand the heads or tails of Sin's origins, we need to rewind to the beginning of the episode, Home. In episode 5, we get to see what the Zombie Drone's VHS tape contains, which are instructions on how to dispose of a worker drone. To break down the process, the worker drone needs to be marked for disassembly, then upload WDOS_606, or the program that erases their software and memory. This is followed by an inspector making sure that the core is disconnected, to which the worker drone is put through the disassembly unit, and then finally inspected again to make sure that the worker is dead. If this process isn't followed correctly, it can create a zombie drone. And for a newsflash, this is a zombie drone. These aren't. These happen due to 3 reasons. 1. The core isn't properly disconnected, 2. The hardware isn't destroyed, and 3. WDOS_606 is interrupted or rejected. As also explained in the VHS tape, worker drones may reboot from their software death alone, which is explained by TFF. It's TOF, I don't care, it's TFF. TFF stands for Technician Error, Faulty OS String, and Failsafeware. The effects of this are shown for a very blurry pie graph, which Clever Sand was able to make out. Either there is no shown change in the worker drone is terminally locked out, or the slim 0.7% chance that they experienced a possibly dangerous mutation. Now, you might think that Sin's rare mutation caused her to be the monster that she is in episode 5, and you'd be slightly correct. However, I doubt that to be the entire case. Multiple times in episode 5, we see her using the Absolute Solver, implying that she is infected. You could conclude that due to this mutation, Sin got the infection. Wrong! I believe that Sin was disassembled in the first place due to her having the Absolute Solver infection. In the VHS tape, we see a list of reasons why worker drones are thrown out, but if you pay close attention, they don't add up to 100%, but rather 101%. This 1% other reason might stand for something else other than just other, but rather infected. I can further this claim when we see Sin reboot. Instead of normal reboot text, we see what appears to be someone talking to Sin. Thanks to Clever Sand, we can make out the most of this conversation between Sin and the Absolute Solver. This could imply that she had the infection pre-disassembly, and that Absolute Solver has its own consciousness. Nonetheless, Sin did agree to the Absolute Solver's terms, and you could say Sin sold her soul to the Absolute Solver to become a full-time puppet. And yes, I do quite mean puppet. If we look at Sin's movements and how she stands, she acts a lot like a string puppet, or a marionette. Notice how her head is always tipping to one side or another, and she has to lift it. This is an example of her being puppeteered. This finally does give us some light on this line from episode 2.
More like you are our cute puppets. It hurts our feelings you don't remember us.
So now we know Sin's origins, and who she is. But this leaves one last question out of the picture. What is her demeanor? Sin is a full-time puppet of the Absolute Solver. What's not to say she wanted to make more puppets for the Absolute Solver to control. We see in the library that worker drones bearing the yellow tag have been put into some sort of a coma, most likely the work of Sin. This was most likely because Sin was trying to recreate zombie drones, but instead, she created something else, the earliest prototypes of the murder drones. In theory video number 18, I said that the murder drones appeared to be refined versions of this ghoulish Uzi, and this does appear to be the case. When N and Kurozy return to the library, we can see coral fan-like blood veins growing all over the room. A set of murder drone wings can be spotted above V, which is ironic since she is the only drone in this episode that can fly. She also possesses her iconic knife fingers, but in more fleshy, Freddy Krueger-like state. I can further this by examining the basement scene. We see the murder drone's iconic headlights, Uzi's ghoul tail, crab arms, anti-acid tails, and a small Reaper arm. Not to mention, we see a decapitated V and some other parts that might be J or some new unnamed characters. Nonetheless, it appears that Sin might have invented the first murder drones. But for what reason? Why? To harvest more murder worker drones for zombification. This sheds more light on these giant spirals of corpses. They aren't just a structure that the murder drones build just for the heck of it, but maybe these are formed to prepare for some zombification process.
Hey, let me give you the tour. Outside of the corpse wall thingies.
This does surprisingly bring me back to Fury video number 14. In Fury video number 14, I said that JC Jensen and the murder drones worked like a scamming center. To recap, you have the victims whose money is stolen, mules who transport the stolen money, supervisors who check that all the money stolen is transported, and finally the boss. I said that Sin would have been a supervisor to make sure that all the worker drones were dying, and that she was the one giving orders to Jay. Well, maybe that is how it works. But JC Jensen isn't the head honcho, but the absolute solver is. Here's a refined version of how I believe it works. The worker drones are killed by murder drones. The murder drones are the mules transporting the dead workers to be zombified. Sin is the supervisor giving orders to Jay and making sure everything is running smoothly. And the absolute solver is the mastermind behind it all. But there is one thing I want to cover. Where is Sin now? And what is Tessa and JC Jensen's involvement in this plan? I do want to bring this to attention. N was never told to cry out Dark X-Wolf 17, so he did technically die to a murder of crows. However, it feels as though it wasn't just Kurozy that was attempting to alter N's memories, but also Sin. Recall these scenes?
Ghost buddy? You okay?
Better than ever, buddy. Let's reset these memories one more time.
Sin is the admin over N, V, and possibly all the murder drones. This does explain the following scenes of Sin trying to digitally lobotomize N. She's trying to reset his memory so he returns to being a mule, and we can assume that it isn't just N who's being digitally lobotomized. In the previous theory, I said that V retained her memory and that being digitally lobotomized wasn't enough to keep her at bay, and it appears as though Sin found a new way to torture her for being non-compliant.
Delete your OSs then. Goodbye, buddy. Execute.
At the end of the episode, we see that the admin control switched from Sin to Uzi, meaning that N and V are now free from Sin's influence. Unfortunately for Tessa, however, this doesn't appear to be the case. It's most likely that she had to comply with Sin's demands after she tried to stop her at the gala.
You didn't have to see this.
We can conclude that Tessa was used to present the refined murder drones to JC Jensen, to which she was hired, and the murder drones could be used to quote-unquote use to exterminate a zombie drone out, when in reality, it's the murder drones that are going to cause the outbreak and a lot of problems back on Earth. Now, there are so many more things I would like to discuss, like Nora and Yeva, Tessa being a good guy, N and V being clones, and this J is the real J, but I just don't have the time to do so. This theory can be looked at from many different angles, like it was Sin who created the murder drones and set them to Copper 9, or it was Sin who invented them but JC Jensen stole them, or it was Sin who forced Tessa to build the murder drones and present them to JC Jensen, or it was Tessa who invented them. But yeah, it gets complicated and I don't have the time to examine all of the possibilities. I can say this, however. One more reason why it could have been Sin that invented the murder drones is due to them having an Eldritch mode, which she seems to sport herself. And that if it was JC Jensen who built the murder drones, why would they incorporate so many aspects of the Absolute Solver into it? But with that, this is my 7 to 8 page long analysis of Sin. I will be taking a 4-week vacation, so I don't believe I will be making any videos anytime soon. Besides, everybody deserves a break. And if you made it this far into the video, let me know by typing this, #ThanksCliff. And I do mean this, because without your notes and your analysis, this video could not have been possible. But with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video, and remember to like and subscribe. Thank you.